Wind. Welcome back to Afternoon Garage. So if you've been following this, we're on the road to building some traffic lights. First episode, we programmed the Arduino, made a little circuit, made a couple different modes that it can do. If you missed that video, go back and check it out. Last week we worked on some refinishing, did some painting, some corrosion removal and that kind of thing. You know what? I suspect what happens is those things hang up in the air. Once they're not able to get the screws out or anything like that to replace the hoods, I'm pretty sure that's when they go in the trash pile. That's when I got them. So anyway, they're refinished now, and we're going to start with the terminal block. We're going to rebuild that, save some money. Then we're going to build some hoods. There's a couple different style of hoods. This is a round style hood. This actually came with the traffic light that I purchased. Kind of going to be going off this similar shape here and fabricating some of those. And then we're going to stuff all the electronics inside, program it up, and see if they work. Best of all, we're going to see if the remote will control 4 separate traffic lights. So if you want to see what happens here, follow me. Well, we have all these, and I don't think I'm going to replace these. I think I'm going to use them. I really like to reuse things. So taking all the screws out that I can, I had to cut some out. That's kind of ugly. I don't really care. I need to get it done. So we will clean these terminals off and reuse them. That's okay. Brush, of course. Things like off here, pull up, put it up. Sort up. We're going to talk about these hoods. So this is your conventional hood that you see like a 4-way stop where I think I explained before where you can't see the light from an adjacent from 90 degrees, thinking that that's your light. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to make some templates out of, this is what they call chipboard or hardboard. It's just it's something a lot of upholstery guys use. It's used to make templates is typically what I use it for. Sometimes you can even use it as a part if you don't require any structural rigidity, or sometimes if you're using it as a fiberglass, making a fiberglass mold, it's good for that too, because fiberglass can just stick to it and you can just kind of leave your part that's part of your mold in the part itself. So first one I ended up with looks something like this. And you can see kind of bend it around, and there's a hood. So kind of what I didn't like about this was in referring to the other hoods that I saw for sale, that they kind of need a little bit more down here. So I ended up getting rid of this one. I'm going with this one. This one you can tell is quite a bit more. There's quite a bit more on it than this one does here. And then of course when you bend that, you have something that looks more like a baseball cap. So I think we're going to go with this style here. I'll mark it out on some of this foam board and cut it out and see how hard that is to do with a knife. Oh! This here is called foam board. This is a little over 1/8 of an inch thick, but it's very, very flexible, and it's kind of porous a little bit. So they call it foam board for some reason. I don't really know why. I think it is foam. And you can buy it for 4x8 sheets at plastic centers. Like I think I got this at a place called Tap Plastics. And I've seen people make door panels out of these. I've seen people make all kinds of different things which require complex curves and that kind of thing. I haven't used it that much. I've used it a little bit, but I think that the thing that I'm going to have to decide is there's going to have to be some brackets put on these things. So I'm not quite sure yet if maybe I want to leave that in this material and then try to bend a tab over and fasten it that way, or just use maybe some angled pieces of aluminum and then pop rivet those on. Not really too thrilled with that, but I think that's what I'm going to do. All right, here they are. They look good. They are, you have to kind of be careful when you bend this without it being heated, because you could see a little earlier that one of them, I did develop some cracking. What we're gonna do now is we're going to use, this is a 12-inch hood, and we're gonna use this as a template to bend this. So once again, I said don't try to bend this too much without heating it up. So 200 degrees is all that's required here. And from what I understand, you can put this stuff outside and the sun can hit it and it doesn't warp at all. Especially, you know, with what we're gonna have here going on, it's gonna kind of maintain its shape. It's not flat or anything like that to where you normally see some warpage if you're using it maybe horizontally or something. But I think the way we're going to use it, I think it's going to have a lot of rigidity just in kind of the shape that it is. So let's stick this in the oven at 200 degrees and see what happens. All right, Eric, down here on the floor with you. So we'll put this in the oven at 200 degrees for maybe 5-7 minutes or so.
A few minutes later.
Okay, that was about 5 minutes. Let's check it out. There you go, nice and floppy. Gonna hold it there. Make sure you're pressed all the way down. I increased the temperature to 220. Seemed to do 210, 220 seemed to do quite a bit better. I don't know, it's because the heating element was on, but it softened up just fine. Now just let it cool down. Don't let it hang out too long on the bottom, especially at 220 degrees. Look at this. Separated and melted. I think I got the whole thing off, but yeah, don't do that. There we go. Look at that. So here's the kind of hood that we wanted. See kind of the profile. Another thing to mention is that there's going to be a few of these that are going to be painted. So if you're going to do any painting on these, I recommend doing all your surface preparation while they're flat. You're going to save yourself a lot of frustration there. But let's see if they fit. Look at that.
Eight hours later.
Getting kind of excited. Getting these light housings done. I have some black hoods for them. I think with the yellow ones, I'm just going to put yellow hoods on the yellow ones and black black hoods on the black ones. So these fit pretty good. I trimmed them. I had to trim them a little bit. I'm gonna give them. This one's kind of a little small. The holes line up really well. I don't know if you can see that. So these were done really well. There were some of them that were, I think it's where I had grabbed onto them, and they got kind of a little bit of a wave right there. So some of them I ran through the oven again after they were at this state. So with the yellow ones, I sanded them down first, formed them, put the tabs on them, and then masked them off on the inside and painted them. It was a long process. It was a lot of work and a little bit of touch up afterwards to kind of take the paint off a little bit, and then so this is what they look like. So they look good. They match. I was going to consider a wrap on the outside of this, and I'm glad I didn't, because you're not going to get the tabs aren't going to be painted, and it's probably not going to look as well. So put that on. Wow, those screws line up fantastic. Here it's all wired up. So I added a little bit down here for a service loop, being that these are, well, they're DC, but they were AC wires, and then the control on the AC wire. So what happens is the AC power comes in, powers this unit. This unit's powered all the time with 120 volts AC. This output here is for the mode switch, and this is normally closed because we want it to turn on and cycle, do the sequencing, and the open it's all of them are on, and then closed, then it'll do the sequencing. So this is a normally closed. That way this relay stays de-energized most of the time, because I think the mode you kind of want it on is a sequence mode. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap all these up. I was going to put it here and check my clearance. I think it's really good right about in here. Put the cover on it. And then we'll fasten that down, put a cover on that, and I'm going to leave these lines the factory length, because they have to be able to stretch and go in between in the hole to the other light. So, you know, depending on what kind of configuration, I think that they allow, 30 inches of wire to allow it to go from one end to the other. So with the terminal block on the end. So, all right, getting close. Let's finish it. Okay, so the wires in here are color coded. That's good. The white is the neutral. Always. Of course, these are DC, so it'd be either the ground or the hot. And put these together, we have these. This is what comes, usually something typical. There's a couple different styles of these things. Here's one here. This is what we're going to use. This has carriage bolts on it. And it pretty much just bolts the thing together. Pretty kind of a barbaric system the way this actually works, because these things can move around quite a bit. So kind of what you want to do is just kind of get the frame all aligned. But then it's important to put these things in before you go wire this up. Nice and quiet today here in Afternoon Garage. That's the way we like it. No noise. Full concentration. There we go. So we'll put the green one, which is brown wire. All right. So these things, they need to provide a little bit of, definitely a lot of strain relief and that kind of thing. So now what we'll do is we'll pull this board here, because we know that it won't program with it, and we'll pull this power connector. So now essentially this Arduino is now free. Well, not free, but you know. So we will plug it in. Would appear it's running a program. So let's just program it again. Flashing lights. Okay. Done uploading. Very good. And I'm going to power this up for the first time and see what happens. So let's open this up first so we can see if any smoke gets let out when I'm powering it up. We can check and see if the light comes on here, which it is. And then there we go. Oh, it worked first time. Very good. And these aren't grounded, they're just neutral, so I'm using a 2-prong connector and just leaving the case to float. I really don't think there's going to be any problems with that. Everything's rubber isolated and mounted. There's plastic insulation with everything, so I think it should be fine. But there you go. There is horizontal traffic light in action. 2-inch round plug. Glued it up. There's some splines on. All right, guys, looks like we got them all done. So just you know, on the turntable, you can see the different styles of hoods. They have this one here is the most common one. You'll see that at almost every intersection. You know, it doesn't allow any of the light to be bled off into somebody else's turn lane. So one more thing I wanted to check, and this is a verification for my own self. These remote controls I bought, I programmed each one of them individually into the receiver, but I want to make sure that there's no interference between one to another in case, well, somebody wants to have all of these in their house. I don't know. So I want to make sure you can turn them on individually. So we'll just go and turn them on. Make sure that none of them turn on. Go. Kind of looks like they're all operating separately. If they weren't, one would shut off. All right. Looks like it works, and that looks great. So that's the end of this project. I think one more thing maybe to test would be the all on feature on the remotes, and make sure that that's not going to have any issues. All right. This one did not. So I would suspect that this may have the first version of Arduino software that we installed where it didn't have the mode switch. So I think I'm going to go ahead and I'll reprogram that one. But anyway, like and subscribe, leave a comment. Thanks for watching.